For almost half of the United States, something like 116 million people, this weekend is going to be a pretty spooky time. And Walmart locations across the country are being completely bought out of every product. The shelves are empty. It's very, very, very odd. Now, this is obviously what you would call your typical panic buying, not generally something I really understand. The products people buy are very, very odd, but the reason people are buying stuff is very, very real. My name's Jeremy. This channel is called The Quarter, and I cover all sorts of news. I do 4 to 5 segments a day every day, so if you enjoy it, please remember to leave a like on the video and subscribe or follow down below. It's totally free, and I work for you, and so I would love to earn your subscription. So there's all sorts of these viral videos going around. Like, my local Walmart because someone mentioned snow and ice. Time for milk and sandwiches. I'll never understand panic buying. Panic buyers have begun to strip the shelves of grocery stores as the historic storm forecast to be the coldest in American history barrels down on 200 million people. Storm Fern is forecasted to bring temperatures of minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit and up to 24 inches of snow for much of the United States starting this Friday, and many of those in its path are stocking up. Look, here's as somebody who lives in Wisconsin, I deal with winter too. This is still very, very cold. It's supposed to get down to minus 40 degrees here. 2 feet of snow on top of that would be crazy. Make sure your snow removal machines, if you have a snowblower stuff, you have heat in the, if you have diesel, you have heat in the fuel, make sure it doesn't gum up on you. Make sure you fill up your gas tanks if you park outside so your gas doesn't freeze. Start your car every once in a while. Let it warm up until you start seeing that oil gauge move up. Don't just start it and stop it. There's a lot you can do, having, sidewalk salt, stuff like that. I don't know that buying out these stores, again, you'll see. Megan Monroe at Eves shared footage online of her local Walmart in Cullman, Alabama, which had its dairy section raided prior to her arrival. A long row of largely empty fridges in the supermarket were seen in the video, which she captioned, "My local Walmart because someone mentioned snow and ice. Time for milk and sandwiches. I'll never understand panic buying. Please tell me this is just a Southern thing." It actually isn't. It's like, do y'all remember during the COOF, during the lockdowns, what it was like trying to get a roll of toilet paper? Trying to get any kind of antibacterial, trying to get any kind of, cleaning supplies, any of that kind of stuff. It was extremely difficult. And that was, of course, a product of panic buying. Another woman known as Jen George posted a video outside of a grocery store in North Texas and explained how panic buyers were out in force on Monday. She said, "It's Monday and people out here panicking, packing their carts out already. And I'm thinking let's keep some for us and other people." Remember Texas, people died the last time they had a crazy storm because the power went out and people didn't have any way to stay warm. I had friends that lived in Texas and said they were literally burning candles in their apartment for heat, like dozens and dozens and dozens of candles. I don't know. I suppose if you had 20 candles lit, it would probably provide some amount of heat in maybe a very small room. I don't know, but I mean, desperate times calls for desperate measures. They're going crazy. I understand because in the past things like that have happened, but here in North Texas, the weather can change like that. I mean, you see here, Oklahoma, completely out of water. I mean, there's some cases here you can see off in this corner, but people are panic buying water. I don't know why you're panic buying water. If there's a snowstorm, you have infinite water outside. Just remember to strain it because there can be stuff in there, and really you should boil it if you can. But I really hate to see what the shelves are going to look like on Wednesday or Thursday. You might want to get your groceries sooner than later. Panic buying appears to be concentrated in the southern states at the minute. The weather there is not expected to be as snowy or as cold as the Midwest and the Northeast. But a few inches of snow or just below freezing temperatures could still cause chaos and week-long power outages in a swath of the United States accustomed to mild winters. Now, that's what if I were worried about my power going out and I was worrying about heat, my house has a fireplace, but it would never heat the whole house. You'd have to think about, generators and electric heaters, It's not like you're going to have a burn barrel burning in your living room, although I have seen crazier things. Any way to generate heat, I'd be more concerned about than bread. But again, I don't understand it. I understand why people, what happens is you go in there and then suddenly it's almost gone. And you're like, boy, I better buy this. I'm pretty sure we have Clorox wipes from the lockdown still that my wife bought in bulk. The Weather Channel has forecast significant ice, freezing rain. And I also saw exploding trees, which is wild. That happens up here. I've seen it happen before. It's when the tree, it gets super, super cold and the sap in the tree or the water in the tree rapidly expands. On Tuesday, Kim Adams in Oklahoma put out TikTok showing aisles at our local Walmart with people stocking up on cases of water, diapers, and bread. She said, if you're from Oklahoma, there's probably not any bread or milk left. She gave a tour of the store showing there were still some essentials remaining, but predicted the shelves would be cleared by Wednesday. Meanwhile, a meteorologist has warned residents in Minnesota that the cold spell could cause trees to explode. Max Velocity, that's a great weatherman name, warned that exploding trees would be possible across the state due to the intense low temperatures. That's a thing, right? I make sure you have gas for your generators, a way to stay warm. If you lose power for several days, think about how you're going to stay warm. That's probably a lot more important than having bread. You know what I mean? It's a lot more important than having bottles of water. You can go outside and get the water, or you can, your water still works generally if there's no power. I guess it depends where you live. Maybe not in apartment complexes. I'm not totally sure. You can drink out of the back of the toilet seats. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that I'm worried about more than bread. The phenomenon, the loud noise, Arctic air from Canada is moving south, aided from Storm Fern, which meteorologists are predicting will result in one of the most devastating winter blasts in recent memory. 2 feet of snow will pile up in parts of Appalachia, AccuWeather reported, with up to a foot forecast for New York City and its environs, I don't know, areas, maybe that means Saturday. The mercury will plunge between 15 and 30 degrees below zero in the Dakotas and Michigan, with the wind chill falling between 35 and 50 degrees below zero in some parts, according to weather. Now, the cold weather is no joke. That's like the most important aspect of this. The cold weather is no joke. Be thinking about how you're going to stay warm if the power goes out. You can go lots of days without food, a lot of them. But you can't survive, being in sub-zero temperatures for a week. You have to be thinking about, how am I going to stay warm? How am I going to, keep my pipes from freezing? This is stuff that I would be worried about as somebody who has dealt with cold weather, because I can tell you this much. I'm not dismissing this. 50 below zero is still incredibly cold. And even in a place like Wisconsin, where we do get, cold weather blasts, this is extremely cold. I'm thinking about my pets. How will I let my dogs out outside when it's 50 below zero? It's just not good for them. There's real problems if the power goes out. Very, very real problems if and when the power goes out. It's still going to get very, very cold where I live. The last thing I'm worried about is milk and bread. You know what I mean? You can live without milk. You can live without bread. You got something in your cabinet that you've been avoiding eating for a while that you can almost definitely survive on. It's staying warm that I'm trying to tell people they really need to be thinking about. Forecaster Gerard Gerbailey from Fox in Baltimore said, I don't ever say words like this. This looks more like the big one for some parts of the U.S. He added that southern U.S. accustomed to balmy weather could be completely crippled by freezing rain. Now, I'm hoping that, it isn't anywhere near as bad as they predict, but it's always better to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. That's what my mom always said. Snow and ice will develop in the northern plains and spread south and eastwards through the weekends, and with the most extreme weather, when the most extreme weather will hit. On Sunday morning, Dallas, Austin, Oklahoma City will see wind chills dropping below zero. On Monday morning, record lows are anticipated for Texas and Mississippi, with the NWS office in Dallas warning about the potential for widespread pipe damage. After plunging the south into freezing temperatures, the cold will head eastward Up in in New England, the Northeast should be expected to be slammed with temperatures at 20 degrees below zero. I'm sorry, below the average for this time of year. The official guidance for the storm, they warned that the expansive storm will produce snow, sleet, and freezing rain. Confidence is high that a significant storm will occur, but not on specific details for the storm track. Preparations for a prolonged winter storm, keep your driveway clear. Be careful when you're out there shoveling and plowing, because, that's when a lot of people get in health problems, because you're cold and you're sweaty and you overdo it and you end up having a heart attack. Many people every single year die for this reason. I'd be more worried about staying warm. Charge up your cell phones. Charge up, if you have a lithium battery banks, charge those up. That'll keep your cell phone working in case you have an emergency. If you have any form of being able to make heat without burning your house down, burning your apartment complex down, these are things that are, charge your phones, charge your battery banks, charge up your laptop, charge up anything that has batteries. Find your candles, find whatever, find whatever you can to stay warm. That's more important than bread. And this is pretty scary stuff. I mean, the storm is very, very real, and I want everyone to stay safe out there. Walmart, I would hope that they would start limiting purchasing, so people who are just not panic buying can still get a gallon of milk, because generally panic buying is unwarranted and unnecessary. But stay safe, stay warm out there. I'll be hunkered down myself here in Wisconsin. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave a like on it if you haven't yet. Subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.